to the Free Kick Podcast. My name is Todd, and unfortunately, the Philadelphia Union's 11-game unbeaten streak has come to an end after they suffer a 1-0 defeat to Columbus Crew on Sunday night. And yeah, what a chaotic game. When you look at the 55-minute rain delay we had, the Union, fortunately enough, were able to finish the first half. And then as soon as the first half ends, a long extended halftime break. And yeah, maybe it came in and played a factor. How the Union played in the second half, they looked much better in the second half than they did in the first half. And so, as always, we'll go ahead and discuss my thoughts. Have your guys' thoughts in the comment section. You guys know it by now. The best part of the show. You guys helped out last episode, so we're going to need your help once again, as no Jose Nunez once again. So, yes, guys, please help me carry the show with your comments, your questions. And yeah, it should be a good show. But yeah, we have a lot to talk about, I think, in this game. I was on AAT Sports with Mike Barrera, Jose Nunez, and Dave on Sunday night, right after the game. And we talked about the game and whatnot last night. And we brought up probably a lot of what I'm going to bring up tonight on the show, just because I think that these are pretty much key points for how the game unfolded last night. A couple key things to go ahead and check out. If you guys haven't already, check out the goals breakdown video, because there really wasn't a lot of chances created in this game. And so I was like, well, the game ends around 9 o'clock. Have an hour or so to put together a goals breakdown video. And yeah, I got that out late at night. So if you guys haven't checked out that video yet, go ahead and check it out on YouTube, youtube.com/freekickpod. All you guys watching right now, obviously, are live. As you guys know, live every single episode on the podcast. So I appreciate you guys checking in here. Going to go ahead and pull up some of your comments. Shaggy says, hey, Todd. Jarrett says, yo, let's go. What's up, Todd? Goat. Shaggy says, Todd the God. John says, can't hang around for the live, but just came to say hi real quick. Excited to listen tomorrow. Appreciate that, John. So a lot of you guys, I think most of the people that listen to the podcast actually tune in once it goes out to the RSS feed. So I do appreciate everybody who listens to the podcast. Mandy, what's up? Waving hi. Good to see you, Mandy. Michael says, Todd the God. Good to see you as always, Michael. And yeah, a lot of you guys keep coming in live. I mean, this is pretty good for a episode that it's going to talk about a Philadelphia Union loss. So I appreciate you guys tuning in live. I also want to go ahead and give a spoiler. If you guys hear thunder in the back, if I lose power, it's possibly because we're under a tornado warning here in Joppa. So fingers crossed we don't lose power. Hopefully no tornado happens. But if you guys hear thunder, if I do suddenly log off live, it's probably because I lost power. So let's hope that doesn't happen. But yeah, we'll get in and talk about Jovan Lukić playing as a center back. Filip Dujic, the referee on last night. A lot of guys were talking about his performance last night on AAT Sports. Union 2 players' impact the last couple games with the first team. And then we'll go ahead and talk about Blunder of the Week. But before we talk about Blunder of the Week, let's get straight into the news. All right, so the first bit of news I want to talk about, and I mentioned it last episode to you guys, just if we would have included this in the last show, we definitely would have went over an hour and 14 minutes. So yeah, that is the MLSPA releasing salary information. And I got to give a shout out to Jose Nunez, and he had tweeted this out a couple days ago. I think he maybe had put it on the Philadelphia Union subreddit and wherever else he posted stuff. Substack too, I do believe Jose posted this. But him and I had sat down a couple years ago and started looking at the player salaries, and let's go ahead and track it for the next couple years, see how much their salaries have went up, how much they went down. And so Jose was back again at it, looking at the players for the Philadelphia Union in 2025 who have taken the highest salary bump. And if you guys haven't seen this, I'll go ahead and leave a link in the show description so you guys can go ahead and check out the work that Jose did. I was pretty much just needed to look over, make sure Jose did his math right. So if any of the math's wrong on this Google sheet, blame me, not Jose. But yeah, it was interesting just looking at the Union salary guides, and the biggest jump in salary we saw was Quinn Sullivan. He went from $153,000 in 2024 all the way up to $518,000 takes a 237% jump from 2024 to 2025. And if you guys are wondering, wow, why such a big jump? That's because, as you guys remember, in the offseason, Quinn Sullivan had signed that U22 initiative deal. And this is something Jose and I have talked a lot about on the podcast, where this is something we want the union to take advantage of. We want to see the union go out and buy more U22 players. And Quinn Sullivan became the union's second. Oluwatu Makanya was the first. We thought that if Jack McGlynn stayed around, that he was deserving of a U22 spot. Didn't happen. We all know that they traded Jack McGlynn to Houston Dynamo before the start of the season. And now they only have two U22 players in Oluwatu and Quinn Sullivan. Did the union go out in the summertime and maybe sign some U22 players? We shall see. I know Cincinnati and Columbus are both signing U22 players once the window opens. And so, yeah, we do want to see the union take advantage and bring in these U22 players, because I always used the player as Diego Gomez when he was with Inter Miami. They brought him for, I think, a little bit over $3 million and then sold him for 4 times that price to Brighton. And yes, it doesn't always work out that way, but I feel like the dividends are a lot higher for a club that's a developmental club, like Ernst Tanner said when he was talking about Thomas Muller being linked to the club. I feel like you're more willing to take a risk when a player that you can buy cheap and then sell for a high. You can't really do that with a player like Thomas Muller. And so hopefully, maybe the union go out and sign a couple more U22 players this summer transfer window. But Quinn Sullivan, the highest player, going from 153,000 to 518,000. Next up, and I think this is going to get the comment section going wild, was Chris Donovan, going from 109,000 in 2024 to 200,000. That's an 82% salary bump from 2024 to 2025. And the one thing I would say about Chris Donovan's contract, or some of the other players I'm going to mention, is when they sign these new contracts like Chris Donovan did, they're going to get a salary bump every year. And so, yes, it looks bad with Chris Donovan not producing as much as Union fans would want. Yes, you pay your strikers to score goals, but, you know, this is what was agreed upon when Chris Donovan signed his brand new contract in when did he sign it? I'm trying to pull it right here, 2023. So, yeah, Chris Donovan signed that new contract through the 2025 season with club options for 2026 and 2027. And so he takes an 82% salary bump from last year to this year. Oliver Zemla goes from 106,000 to 166,000, a 56% bump in salary from 2024 to 2025. Jeremy Raffanello from 107,000 to 161,000. That was a 49% salary bump. And then Isaiah LaFleur, 80,000 in 2024 to 113,000, which is a 40% salary increase. And so all those players right there, minus Quinn Sullivan, you guys would probably be saying, yeah, I don't know if they're deserving of those pay raises. But again, just like I said for Chris Donovan, when they sign these multi-year extensions, their salary is always going to go up. And the reason I bring that up is you guys will remember that Jack Elliott, he had an option for 2025, but Ernst Tanner didn't feel like giving him a bump. I don't know what that number is. Only he and maybe some other people could tell you, but it's evident that Ernst Tanner didn't feel comfortable paying that bump. When you look at what Jack Elliott was making last year with the Philadelphia Union, he was making $893,000, and now he leaves as a free agent with the Philadelphia Union, goes to Chicago Fire, and now Chicago Fire are paying him just over $1 million, and Jacob Glesnes is making $1.2 million this year. And you know, if I'm Ernst Tanner, I can understand why he doesn't feel comfortable paying 2 center backs over $1 million each, and it's a lot of money to be invested into your center backs. And yes, the Union were shaky last year, and I think it was probably down between a choice. Do we try to move Jacob Glesnes? Do we keep Jack Elliott instead? Do we move on Jack Elliott and keep Jacob Glesnes? And so there's just no way that the Union would have paid both center backs, in my opinion, over $1 million. It's just too much money invested in a position that is needed, and a position that is going to bring you success. We saw that back in 2022, the partnership between Jack Elliott and Jacob Glesnes, how vital they were to the Union reaching MLS Cup. And then last year in 2024, they take a step backwards. 2023, I would argue they took a step backwards too, because when you hit your peak, just like the Philadelphia Union did in 2022, and it was multiple players, it was the whole team. The odds of that happening again were so slim. And now, when we look at how Jacob Glesnes is performing, yeah, you would say that this was the right choice, right? With Jacob Glesnes again making his third MLS All-Star appearance, had his best game on Wednesday night against Chicago Fire, misses the game against Columbus Crew because of yellow card accumulation. Does this game go different against Columbus if he is available for the Union? I do believe so. We'll get into that in a bit, but I do absolutely understand why Ernst Tanner said, I'm not going to pay both center backs over $1 million. And I would be curious to see, do you guys think that Ernst Tanner made the right decision allowing Jack Elliott to leave as a free agency? And I don't blame Jack, right? Because you only get one career. Chicago Fire, desperate for defenders. Jack Elliott was the most prized center back on the market in free agency. And so, of course, he was going to get the bag. I don't blame him whatsoever. But when you're the Philadelphia Union, you had more needs than just center backs on this roster. They pretty much revamped the midfield. They go out and sign Bruno Damiani. Yeah, it makes sense why you're not going to spend $1 million each for your center backs. Going to go ahead and pull up your guys' comments. Minnie says, well-deserved for Quinn Sullivan getting that nice pay raise. Cole asks, Quinn makes more than McGlynn, right? Yeah, let's go ahead and pull up what Jack McGlynn's making. Jack McGlynn is making $292,000 this season with Houston Dynamo. Also, remember when the Philadelphia Union traded Jack McGlynn to Houston, he never signed a new contract. So he's still on his previous contract with the Union. And I think we all know that Jack's destined someday for Europe. A little bit surprised that it wasn't this past offseason. And the Union obviously take the most money, and it came from Houston Dynamo. Shaggy says, is there any news on when ENG is going to be back? Not yet. Doesn't look good, right? And we'll see. Did the Union go out and get another center back? It's very possible there, Shaggy. Valerie says it seems to be pushed off further and further. Absolutely. Mandy says, and Val at the team meet and greet, he said a couple more weeks if that counts. So, yeah, there we go. Good comment there from Mandy. Shaggy says, dude, if Donovan could freaking score a goal or actually cross a proper ball, though, or a proper through ball, yeah, then maybe fans would be happy with how much money he was making. Mandy says, wonder if the contracts include COLA increases, and that's where a lot of the increases is coming from. Yeah, it's a good question. It's a good question that I do not have the answer to. Maybe Jose does. A lot smarter with this stuff than me. Michael says, keeping Jacob was a good choice. May not have looked like it at the end of last season. Valerie says, neither Gazdag nor Elliott nor McGlynn are all-stars this season. Michael says, don't blame Elliott. Get your bag. Same for Gazdag. We'll talk about Gazdag here in a bit. Shaggy says, absolutely correct. Mad props to Tanner picking Glesnes and letting Jack Elliott go. And Cole says, I thought he signed a U22 with Houston. Let's go ahead and pull up the player salary guides. But player guides, how they put their roster up. I'll have to look at that in a second. Maybe one of you guys in the comment section can pull that up if you guys want to. But yeah, Daniel Gazdag, you guys mentioned him in the comments. And last season with the Union, he was making $1.7 million. This year, when he gets traded to Columbus for $4.5 million and he signs a new contract with Columbus, he's making $2.5 million. And that's the contract that Gazdag was looking at. And when you look at his productivity, Valerie, you had mentioned it, hasn't scored a goal yet, not an all-star. Jack McGlynn, not an all-star. And Jack Elliott, not an all-star. Does Ernst Tanner get it correctly, moving on from players at the right time? And yeah, I mean, there's a real argument to be made there, absolutely. But I look at Daniel Gazdag, where Jose and I feel like months ago did this exercise, looking at some players, number 10s that, you know, would be in the same salary range as Gazdag that we would project. And I think 2.5 million is probably around the correct price for Gazdag just because of all the goals that he scored. And yes, a lot of those come from the penalty spot. And I was just on a Columbus Crew podcast prior to the game against the Union on Sunday. And yeah, that fan base is like completely melting down that it's been 12 games now that Gazdag has not scored a goal in. And I don't think that, you know, that tells the whole story. I've watched a couple Crew games. Gazdag does seem to get into the right positions and everything. He's just been a little bit unfortunate not to put the ball in the back of the net. And I do believe the goals will come. I do think that Gazag's in a better system in Columbus than he was in this current system with Bradley Cornell. Looking it up here, yeah, so Jack McGlynn is a U22 player with Houston Dynamo, but he never signed a new contract. So, yeah, it is interesting, right, that he takes a U22 spot but doesn't sign a new deal with Houston Dynamo. But again, I don't blame Jack for not signing a new deal. I'm sure it's probably been offered to him, but yeah, when you have aspirations to go to Europe and you were expecting to go to Europe this window and it doesn't happen, yeah, I mean, I can understand why Jack McGlynn's not signing a new deal or hasn't signed a new deal in Houston. Mandy says, would love to snag the likes of Diego Luna on a U22 deal. Yeah, absolutely. Balling out with the U.S. men's national team. Scored a big goal last night. And I do think that's another player who, by the way, shares the same agency now with Jack McGlynn. I think it's only a matter of time before we see both of those players in Europe. And Diego Luna, so fun to watch. Really, really great player for RSL and scores a big goal last night for the U.S. men's national team, which Matt Freese. 3 big saves. How big was Matt Freese? Matty Ice. You guys think he's the new number one for the U.S. men's national team? Do you think that Zach Steffen still has a chance? Matt Turner, who we'll see what happens with his deal to Lyon if they do indeed get relegated because of financial fair play issues. But yeah, it's a big moment last night for Matt Freese. Concedes 2 goals. Yes, I would argue they're not his fault, but comes up with 3 saves in the penalty shootout, and that's got to instill so much confidence in him. But Diego Luna, to your point, Mandy, a huge personality with the U.S. men's national team. And yeah, I think he would do well in Philadelphia, but I can't imagine how much it would cost to get somebody like him in the Union. Michael says, commentators always have to talk about Gazdag when covering the games. It's like at least once every 10 minutes. Yeah, absolutely. And they interviewed him again. And I don't know if you guys saw this prior to the game. They asked him, would you celebrate against the Union if you scored? And he was like, yeah, I would. And he also took shots at Dax McCarty for predicting the Union to miss on the playoffs this season. He's like, yeah, I still remember. And yeah, he wasn't surprised to see the Union being as successful as they have been the start of this season. Shaggy says Gazdag should have had a red card last night. That kick on Bedoya looked a bit late and dirty. Yeah, we're talking about that here in a bit as well, Shaggy. Michael says, Mr. Freeze. Valerie says, Matty Ice got his fingers on almost every penalty kick ball. Absolutely. I think he dove the right way all but one time last night. Really good performance last night on the penalties from Matty Ice. Mandy says, not just 3 saves, got hands on 2 or 3 on the other ones too. Michael shows the ice emoji. And Shaggy says, don't even get me started about Matt Freeze. Should still be a Union keeper. And yeah, I understand why the Union got rid of him. It was time for him to get playing time, and that just wasn't going to happen with Andre Blake, the goalkeeper for the next few years. And now you kind of run into the same situation with Andrew Rick. Yeah, I mean, how many times do I have to talk about it here on the podcast? They should probably loan Andrew Rick out. Needs to get consistent playing time. That isn't with Union 2. It should probably be in the USL Championship, unless some team in MLS is willing to give him a shot, which I don't know. I would say that he probably is deserving, right? I mean, he showed well this season in MLS with the Union, and the more experience he gets, the better he's going to get. Cole says Freeze would not be who he is today if we kept him. Absolutely agree with that comment. Anything else for the salary guide that I want to talk about? Oh, yeah. I mean, so like I said, $2.5 million would have been the highest for the Union if they would have gave Daniel Gazdag his new contract. But as things stand, that's Mikhail Uhre, who sits at $2.2 million, followed by Jacob Glesnes at $1.2 million, Andre Blake at $1.1 million, Kai Wagner barely over $1 million, and then Ty Baribo at $810,000. So, and there you have it, your top 5 Philadelphia Union players. Bruno Damiani gets brought in for $3.4 million. He's earning $726,000 this season. You also have Jan Glavinovic making $425,000 this season. Don't forget, he's here on loan from Newell's Old Boys. And then there's reports out there that the Union, if they take up the buy option they have on his deal, it would be $3 million. Indiana Vasilov, another new player, making $381,000. This is because of the deal that he signed with St. Louis, so the Union inherited that money. Jovan Lukić, which I think this is a huge steal, making $329,000, probably the biggest steal out of all the players here on this list. And then Ben Bender making 150,000. Yeah, I mean, it's not a huge salary to sign him on a 1 year deal. So, yeah, I would say the Union, they do what they do best, right? Where they don't give people huge salaries. They keep people in line in the locker room, and they try to keep people from being disgruntled. And when it's time to reward you for your good performances, then you get into negotiations and sign a new deal. But Jovan Lukić, I'd be curious to see how much longer he's going to be on this salary, just with how well he's played this season. Again, going to go ahead and read some more comments before we move on to the next topic. Michael says Kai could probably very easily get a raise elsewhere. Yeah, and I thought about that too, but you're making over $1 million in MLS. It's pretty significant, and for a player who was at fault for the goal last night, I do think he has his defensive issues. I think maybe there is a reason why Kai isn't in Europe or playing for a top team in Europe. And if you're going to go ahead and play in the championship in England, or I don't know, where else has he been linked to? A mid-table Bundesliga club? Are they really going to pay him $1 million? I'm not really sure. Maybe, but I do think that he is in a situation in Philadelphia where he's making a significant amount of money. Mandy says Jovan, the biggest steal league wide, in my opinion. Yeah, he's been absolutely fantastic. Mandy says, if I remember correctly, Kai is the second highest paid left back in MLS, and I do believe that you're correct, Mandy. Let's go ahead and pull that up. And look, it should be Jordi Alba, and then uh Kai Wagner. But yeah, regardless, I mean, the Union do reward guys who have good seasons, and when you want a new contract, well, then you get moved out like a Daniel Gazag or a Jack Elliott, and it's business. So looking at this, yeah, $6 million Jordi Alba's making this season with Inter Miami, followed by Kai Wagner at a little over $1 million. Insane. The big difference between Jordi Alba and Kai Wagner, and I don't know, is Jordi Alba that much better than Kai Wagner? I would say not, but maybe the people that voted Jordi Alba in on the All Stars over Kai Wagner would say so. I mean, it's crazy. $6 million for Jordi Alba. But yeah, that's pretty much everything I wanted to say about the MLS salary guide. So let's go ahead and quickly talk about a deal that the Union made over the weekend. Kind of went under the radar. That is Philadelphia Union transferring Nelson Pierre to Vancouver Whitecaps 2, which then Vancouver Whitecaps transferred him right away to Vancouver's first team. The Union get $50,000 for the deal of Nelson to Vancouver Whitecaps 2. This season in MLS Next Pro, Nelson appeared in 13 games so far, 9 goals, 1 assist. And yeah, I mean, there's a guy who was just so far down the pecking order with the Union. A player that's been loaned out the last couple seasons with the Union, hasn't worked out on loan, and yeah, gets loaned out to Vancouver too, where he's finding a lot of success. And Vancouver say, we're going to go ahead and add you to our first team roster right away. We're going to reward you for your high performances with our second team. And yeah, hopefully Nelson can find a stable home, and just like Brian White, killing it with Vancouver. Yeah, maybe Nelson Pierre finds the same success that Brian had since leaving from New York Red Bulls to Vancouver. We shall see. But yeah, I do think this is a good move for the Union, and it is unfortunate it never worked out. But that's how it is in pro soccer, right? Not every deal is going to work out, and you try to do best by the player, put them on loan, find them situations where they can thrive, get playing time, and it just never worked out for Nelson. And fortunately for him, or luckily for him, whatever you want to say, yeah, it works out with him going to Vancouver 2 this season, and having a successful season in MLS Next Pro, where he found success coming up with the Union when they put him down with Union 2, and they thought he was at a higher level, so try to get him some higher loans, and it just never really worked out. And now he finds a new home in Vancouver. So all the best to Nelson Pierre. Would have been nice to see him and Neil share the field together, but just wasn't in the in the cards. Manny says, wishing Neil the best. He's been killing it in Next Pro. Valerie says, mountain. Yeah, absolutely. Altitude. Maybe it's helping him out. And then Michael says, good season to be on the Caps. Absolutely. He goes from a team in MLS Next Pro that was playing well now to one of the best teams in MLS. And so hopefully he gets his opportunities this season with Vancouver. And hopefully if Vancouver and the Union do find a way or somehow meet in MLS Next Pro Cup, MLS Cup. Yeah, hopefully Nelson doesn't come back and haunt the Union. But yeah, let's go ahead and switch topics, switch gears to last night's game between the Union and Columbus Crew. As we all know, the Crew scored a late go-ahead goal in stoppage time. 2 minutes out of 3 minutes in the first half of stoppage time with Mo Farsi. And let's just go ahead and talk about that goal, right? I broke it down in the goals breakdown video, and it was an unfortunate goal to concede. I thought the Union were actually playing pretty well defensively in the first half. And I think overall they played really well in this game, limiting Columbus to their chances in this game. But just like we saw against Chicago, where it was going to be Bamba going against Alejandro Bedoya on the right side of the field, you knew that Columbus was going to go ahead and target Alejandro Bedoya. He's not a natural right back. And so, yeah, I'm not surprised to see Alejandro Bedoya be targeted by Columbus in this game. And yeah, it's just one moment where Sejdic plays the ball into Lapinlainen, no pressure whatsoever by the Union's two forwards onto Sejdic, and he had all time to go ahead and just pick up that pass. And it was unfortunate that Alejandro, a couple step behind, gets beat. But then what's even worse is Kai Wagner. He's the one who should have been guarding Mo Farsi. As soon as that ball gets played into Lapinlainen hits it first time into the penalty area to Mo Farsi, and Farsi's already going full speed. Kai Wagner looks over his shoulder quickly and sees the run. It's not like he's unaware where Mo Farsi is, but because Farsi gets up to speed so quickly, Kai Wagner is already beat. And it was unfortunate, right, that the Union conceded a goal from both fullbacks. And yes, I know you have a makeshift back line with Alejandro Bedoya with Jovan Lukić playing as a center back. But really, Kai Wagner's got to be better there on that play. And it's unfortunate, too, because that was really the only clear-cut chance Columbus had in this game. And good teams, that's all they need. They only need one chance, and they're going to make you pay. And that's exactly what Columbus did there on that goal. And I do find it interesting, too, where the Union struggled to create any chances in this game. Only 6 shots, 0 of them on target. The Union's biggest chances came in the second half on set pieces. You obviously had Kai Wagner on the corner kick to Alouette Makanya on the back post. Makanya wins the header, hits it across back towards the near post where Bedoya is there, and he plays the ball across in the 6-yard box where there's 3 Union players right there. You had Sal Livas, you had Chris Donovan, and Indiana Vasilev, and no player could get a foot on the ball. And that was a huge missed opportunity right there for the Union. I had said this on a Columbus Crew podcast. I said, set pieces are going to be key in this game. Prior to this game between these two teams at Subaru Park, what did Columbus do? They score a late equalizing goal off of a set piece. Union get 2 huge chances, and they aren't able to put the ball in the back of the net. That play, that set piece, I believe in the 67th, 68th minute, where Makanya heads it back towards Bedoya and he plays it across the 6-yard box, you have 3 players right there. Somebody's got to get a foot on it. If somebody's at the back post, that's an easy tap and you're tied 1-1. And so that's a huge moment, a huge wasted opportunity. And then on the flip side, you literally get the last kick of the game, a free kick situation. Kai Wagner plays the perfect ball into Jesus Bueno. He wins the header, but I think maybe it's a little bit too much on the ball from Wagner where Bueno can't hit that towards goal. It's a lot of spin on it. There's a lot of pace on the ball, on the header from Jesus Bueno, and he hits that ball off target. But 2 huge chances in the second half off of set pieces by the Union. We saw the Union control more meaningful possession in the second half in this game. I thought when Sal Livas came on, I think he was attacking space well for the Union. We saw David Vasquez come on. We'll talk about those guys here in a little bit. But yeah, the first half compared to the second half, and I talked about it at the beginning of the show, is it because of the long weather delay that the Union were able to come out and be the better team in the second half because of how well the Union or how highly the Union think of analytics, how they're always showing game film, and it gives the Union more time to go ahead and look over things and find weaknesses to go ahead and exploit and see where they were successful in the first half, which wasn't a lot. I am aware of that. But defensively, they were really solid. It was just that they really struggled to create any chances. And this isn't a knock on Indiana Vasilev or Ben Bender, but neither one of those guys are able to create chances like Quinn Sullivan. Missing Quinn Sullivan's been huge for this team. I do think Indiana Vasilev's a little bit better of a player at creating chances than Ben Bender is. Both of those guys, they do exactly what Bradley Cornell wants. That's press, 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 and try to win the ball back. But when you need creativity, especially when you're playing Jovan Lukić as a center back and not as a six, you need one or maybe both of your two number 10s to step up. And neither one of those guys did in terms of the chance creation for this game. You obviously, I mentioned it, see the end of the 11-game unbeaten streak by the Union. And we all know that the Union weren't going to go undefeated the rest of the season. And maybe this is exactly what they wanted or they needed. I don't think they wanted to lose this game, but maybe they needed this, just a quick restart. But again, the Union didn't play bad in this game against Columbus. It was literally one chance for Columbus. Everything else, the Union shut them down defensively. It was just about, can we create more chances? First half, couldn't create anything. Second half, you create a little bit more. I mentioned those two set piece goals. You got to get at least one goal off of them. And, good teams find ways to win. And that's exactly what the Columbus Crew did in this game. But I mentioned it a couple times, and that's Jovan Lukić starting at center back. And again, shout out to Mike and those guys across the pitch for having me on last night. Yeah, we talked about this. You had a natural center back in Neil Pierre on the bench. Bradley Cornell opts to go for Jovan Lukić as a center back. And is that the right decision? I mean, yeah, you can say it was the wrong decision after the game, but I think Jose had brought this up to me in a group chat during the game. It makes sense why you play Jovan there because there is no big number 9 target striker for Columbus in this game. And so you can afford to play Jovan there because he's going up against a Daniel Gaza, a Diego Rossi, guys that aren't huge, guys that aren't physical. And so Jovan can hold his own. But at the same time, you lose all your creativity in the midfield, not playing Jovan Lukić. And so before we go ahead and read some of your guys' comments and talk more about Jovan starting at center back, this is what Bradley Cornell had to say last night on Jovan's performance as a center back.
I thought Jovan, for me, I look at it a little bit differently, and I don't see worlds apart between a holding midfielder or a centre back. So, I thought Jovan did a great job. He had to manage his yellow card status, and I thought he did excellently well. So, like I said, the back line played really well. We didn't give too much away out of the run of play. So really proud of those guys, proud of everyone. They dug deep tonight, and every week they dig deep for us. We might not win the game, and we certainly didn't expect to go through the rest of the season unbeaten. So, to put ourselves in contention here at this place, and to, probably deservedly get a point out of this. Unfortunately, it wasn't meant to be. But it's okay. We hold our heads up high and we leave here, and we got a game next weekend in Nashville.
So I just realized something. Why didn't any of you guys in the chat 34 minutes into the podcast tell me that my mic wasn't connected, that I was using the mic on my MacBook? So now the audio should be better. Not that anybody noticed, but yeah, you hear Bradley Cornell's thoughts there on Jovan Lukić. Shaggy says, agreed. Union didn't play bad. The ref played a part in that game too. That's the next thing that we'll go ahead and pull up there, Shaggy. Michael says, Lukić played well as a center back fill-in. We just really missed having him in his position. And that's exactly it, where you lose the creativity of Jovan Lukić playing as a number 6. And the Union create more chances with their 6s than they do with the number 10s. Or that's a partial lie, because Quinn Sullivan is second on the team in chance creation with 32 chances created. But with no Quinn Sullivan, you really need your 6s. You really need your other number 10s to step up to try to fill that void, because it can't all be on Kai Wagner to create your chances. And so that's why I think it was so key having Jovan Lukić play in his natural position. Jovan, everything goes through him. Yeah, he may be 4th on the team in chances created with 17, but he's 2nd on the team in touches. 1,035 touches this season. That's only 2nd to Kai Wagner. And yeah, he's the maestro for this team. Everything goes through Jovan Lukić being the playmaker in that number 6 position. Has a couple goals, a couple assists this season for the Union, a couple key passes. But yeah, when you take him out of his natural position, now you really put even more pressure on a Ben Bender and an Indiana Vasilov to create your chances. Even more pressure on Kai Wagner to create your chances. And it hurt. Only 6 shots in this game for the Union, none of them on target. Not a lot of chance creations by the Union in this game. And yeah, it was the same thing against Chicago Fire, right? I think the Union did create a little bit more chances, but not much. And yeah, a big part of that is not having Quinn Sullivan. And that's why it is important, in my opinion, to go out there and get another U22 player. I would be happy if the Union go out and get a U22 attacking midfielder. You can never have enough midfielders in this formation, in this style of play that Bradley Cornell wants the Philadelphia Union playing. And so not having somebody controlling the tempo in the middle of the field in Jovan Lukić, you really, 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 really see how lackluster this team is in creating chances. Michael says, I only noticed the news jingles didn't play. Man, come on, Michael. Somebody could have told me that at the beginning, but now everything should be good. So when I play the not good from Jim Curtin, you guys will hear it. Valerie says, I did not notice, but the news audio did not play. So yeah, everybody's noticing that my mic, if you guys are listening to this RSS feed, you guys aren't going to notice a difference. It's only live. But hey, that's on me, right? 34 minutes into the podcast, that is on me for not noticing that the mic wasn't connected. Michael says even Mika's chance creation was missing. Yeah, that's another good point. A lot of chances created by Mikael Uhre this season. Cole says Quinn gets a decent bit of criticism, but after missing him, everyone should realize just how much he means to this team. And that's what makes it difficult, right? I'm sure there's going to be interest in Quinn Sullivan. And if the Union get a big enough offer, how do you say no to that? And so the Union have to have a replacement lined up because Quinn's not going to be here with the Union much longer. He's having a career year, which, by the way, Quinn Sullivan not getting any mention for the All-Star game either, who's played so well that he got a spot in that Gold Cup with the U.S. men's national team. I mean, what a joke, right? Quinn Sullivan been fantastic for the Philadelphia Union. And yeah, we've seen against Chicago and now Columbus that they really are missing the chance creation. And yeah, it's unfortunate that you play Jovan Lukić, who doesn't cost you a goal in this game, but not having him control the center of the field does wind up costing you, in my opinion, on across the pitch. People had asked, would you have played Danley John Jock as a center back? And I think if I had a choice between Jovan or Danley, of course I would have said I would have played Danley, but why not Neil Pierre? Why not Neil Pierre, a natural center back? Play him next to Alawat Makanya. I get it. It's a complicated system to play against in Columbus with all their passing and all their overlapping and underlapping runs. And it's a lot to pay attention to. I mean, there was a moment where Jovan Lukić gets pulled out of position. And luckily, fortunately for the Union, you had Alawat Makanya tackle the ball off of Diego Rossi after he gets into space, after he's played in behind, takes a little bit heavy of a touch, which, by the way, Makanya, I think, was excellent. Really, really good game from Alawat Makanya. And during the broadcast, I don't know if you guys heard it, but Jake Zivin, the play-by-play announcer, had said that, or maybe it was Taylor Twellman, one of those guys, I think it was Twellman, had said that scouts are looking at Alawat Makanya. And so if he continues to play this well, does he get looks during the winter? It's possible, but this is what happens when you have a really good team, when you're a settling league. You're always going to have interest in your players, especially when you're towards the top, and maybe even more so when teams don't expect you guys to, like some of the MLS pundits, expect the Union to be very good this season. Of course, you're going to have interest. How much interest did we see in the Union back in 2022? So, yeah. We shall see what happens with Makanya. I don't expect him to move in the summertime, but I do think he had a very, very good game last night. Shaggy says, good enough for a national team, not good enough for MLS All-Stars. The math ain't mathing in regards to Quinn Sullivan. Michael, in regards to Neil Pierre, says, I feel like Neil was the obvious choice, yet almost every other U22 player gets a chance in this game. Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, we'll go ahead and talk about that. But yeah, I just think that the Union lost a lot of creativity playing Jovan Lukić at at the center back and not as a number 6 in this game. Go ahead to a point that you just brought up, Shaggy, and that is last night's referee, who you guys will remember him, Filip Dujic, who had the moment in Atlanta where he puts his hand up and he says, wait, or I forget what he says, but he has that moment when he's talking and he looks just so confused because the fans are cheering and everything. He's like, no, no, no. You guys are going to be cheering here for a second. And I believe he says, however, and then he gets booed and everything. So, yeah, I mean, there's a referee that has got a lot of national media attention and everything. And I think it's a fair point that his decisions or non-decisions last night played a factor into the game, but you never want to blame the referees for how you played, right? At the end of the day, you got to take care of business. You didn't create enough chances, but giving the Union 3 yellow cards in the first half, but the biggest one for me was Alejandro Bedoya gets a yellow card 20 seconds into this game. That changes, in my opinion, a little bit how aggressive you want to play. And you see Jovan Lukić playing as a center back, gets a yellow card in this game. You also see Jesus Bueno pick up a yellow card in the first half. So, I mean, you have 3 players picking up yellow cards in the first half, 3 of your more aggressive players. Yeah, that is going to change the way that you play a little bit. But then the one thing, too, that I had an issue with is how many times in the first half did we see Kai Wagner try to take a quick free kick? Columbus player's in his way. Kai kicks the ball against the Columbus player. No yellow card given. I mean, how many times do we see that in the league when an opposition player is stopping a quick free kick? There's a talking to you by the referee, maybe a warning the first time. You do it again, you're getting a yellow card. And no yellow card whatsoever. Philip just looked like, yeah, no, we're not going to go ahead and give a yellow card for this. Like, what do you think you're doing? But we see it time and time again, yellow cards given for that. So after the game, Bradley Cornell was asked about the referee performance by Filip Dujic, and Bradley didn't really want to say too much because he didn't want to wind up getting fined.
Again, if I say too much, I know I'm going to get, I'm already on a warning. But again, the ref, Philip just needs to know when to manage the game and how to manage the game. And if that was the right decision in his eyes after 14 seconds to issue a yellow card, then it's his right to do so. Unfortunately, the only bad part is you have another 89 and a half minutes to manage the rest of the game. And that's when it becomes a little bit of a struggle, right? So if there's 3 players standing around the ball on Kai Wagner trying to take a free kick and stopping the delay, stopping a restart of a game, right? It's a cautionable offense. 3 times it doesn't happen. So I don't understand, the rationale. But again, it's not me to decide. It's not me to bash and criticize. It's just, I can't do that. But again, we just, over time, we hope these things even themselves out.
Yeah, Michael comments right here. Jovan got a second yellow for that against Atlanta United, I believe it was, right? I mean, you see it all the time. And why not a single Columbus player was booked for that makes zero sense to me, because it happens time and time again. And credit to Bradley Cornell not wanting to blame the referee, doesn't want to get fined. I understand that. But at the same time, right? If I'm a Union player, and I'm sure they had these talks after the game, I'm sure Bradley Cornell had thoughts after the game to his players for the referee's performance. Yeah, it wasn't the greatest managed game from Philip. And that's not why the Union lost. I do feel bad anytime you talk about the referee. It's like, well, people only talk about the referees when their team lost, but that's not the case at all. I mean, this was 20 seconds into the game, you give out a yellow card. I mean, that really sends a message, I think, to all the players like, okay, I can't make a challenge, because if I'm getting a yellow card 20 seconds into the game, then what else am I going to get a card for? How many stoppages are going to be in here because of a foul? And so, yeah, I'm sure that does play a factor into the players' minds. The one thing that I am a little bit surprised about, that there was only 7 fouls committed by each team in this game, 14 fouls. And for the Union, they pick up a ton of yellow cards in this game. You had Dalen John Jock, you had Saul Olivas, you had Jovan Lukić, Kai Wagner, Jesus Bueno, Alejandro Bedoya. And so this actually might be wrong. I'm looking at second half. Fouls committed. I was going to say, yeah, fouls committed in this game, 17-16. So about even. But yeah, 6 yellow cards for the Union in this game compared to Columbus's 2 with Daniel Gazdag. And then a minute into a stoppage time in the second half, one of the guys get a yellow card too. But yeah, I mean, the Union don't lose this game because of the referee. The Union lose this game because they don't create enough chances. But I do think that the refereeing was a little bit inconsistent in this game, and it yeah, it's I don't know. You can't blame the referees for why you lose games and everything. Yeah. It does suck that there's moments like this. Anytime that your team loses and everything, people always want to point to the referee. And yeah, it is what it is. Cole says no one Kai. He definitely was, but it was warranted. In regards to Michael saying commentators said Kai was trying to draw a yellow. I'm like, what? Yeah, you're probably right. Kai Wagner would pull something like that. And then after the game, he was pretty heated with Mo Farsi. Michael says, would help if Rossi was on 2 feet from him doing a free kick for sure. Absolutely. And that's pretty much all I have to say about the referee's performance. I don't think, again, that's why the Union lost. Union lost because they didn't create enough chances. But brings me to the last point before we get into Blunder of the Week. What have you guys? You guys are listening live. A lot of you guys are commenting. I want to know your thoughts. What did you guys learn from the Union 2 players that we've seen these last few games? You see against Chicago Fire, Eddie Davis makes his debut. We see against Columbus, you have Sal Livas makes his debut. We see David Vasquez makes his MLS debut. I know he made his debut in the U.S. Open Cup. Kevin Sullivan plays his most minutes yet with the Philadelphia Union, playing the whole second half in this game. Andrew Rick, who I think is probably graduated from the second team, he's played good in goal for the Union this season. And yet, you had mentioned it, Michael. You had mentioned it. No Neil Pierre, but all these other players from Union 2 get to make their debut, get to play meaningful minutes. Marcus Anderson spent a lot of time this season with Union 2. Gets a start against Columbus on the night, which I feel like it was a little bit harsh to take him out at the start of the second half. I thought he played decently well in the first half. I think that his pace caused a lot of issues for the back line of Columbus, so wasn't really too sure why Marcus was pulled at the start of the second half. Shaggy says, "In Rick we trust," and yeah. Also, I saw your comment saying that you didn't want Andre Blake, I believe, someplace up there in goal. And yeah, Andrew Rick's been great for the Union. Which is it a little bit harsh for Andrew Rick to lose his starting spot as soon as Andre Blake comes back from international duty? Maybe a little bit, but yeah, I do think that we see a case where Bradley Cornell trusts the Union 2 players. He's doing exactly what he said he was going to do. Give young guys a chance. I didn't even mention the biggest guy, Frankie Westfield, who's out with an injury. It's probably been the most successful, well, not probably, is the most successful Union 2 player from last season to take advantage of opportunities this year with the first team. Has looked great playing as a right back for the team. And so, yeah, I do think that we learned that Bradley Cornell is going to continue to give chances to these second team guys. I do wonder, when does CJ Olney get a chance? I think, in my opinion, if you're not including Frankie Westfield or Andrew Rick, I think CJ Olney is the next most ready player down with Union 2. And maybe that's a little bit harsh, not to say Kevin Sullivan, but yeah, I do think that CJ Olney is probably ready to play some minutes for the Union. Why we haven't seen him yet this season, not quite sure. Maybe that's a question to ask Bradley Cornell midweek, just how close he believes CJ Olney is. And if I'm not mistaken, maybe somebody had asked about that a few weeks ago, where he said that, debuts and opportunities on the bench aren't given, they're earned. So maybe Bradley would say something similar to that about CJ. But yeah, I think CJ Olney is ready for minutes in MLS. I'm not saying he's starting quality yet, but I do think, if you can give a debut to Sal Livas, to David Vasquez, to Eddie Davis, then when's Neil Pierre's time? When's CJ Olney's time? Because the next wave is coming. And yeah, Cole's right. He said they aren't given like candy. That's exactly what the quote was. I'm glad somebody remembered it. And so, yeah, I would be curious to see, okay, when's CJ's time coming? But we did learn last night that, yeah, bringing in those Union 2 guys, CJ Olney, David Vasquez, Sal Livas, Kevin Sullivan, they didn't lose them the game. They looked promising at times last night. Sal Olivas made a lot of great runs, attacked the space well. Almost had a chance if Kai Wagner could have got that ball to him. If it doesn't get cleared away inside the 18-yard box, I think Sal has a chance to put that one on target at least. And yeah, he showed a lot of hustle and everything. But yeah, a lot of belief, a lot of trust from these Union 2 guys that Bradley Cornell is placing in them. And like Cole says, that um, they're not giving out like candy the debuts to these guys. So yeah, we shall see what happens. But I'm happy with the chances that these young guys have had, and I'm sure we're continuing to see chances given. But I did feel like this was a big opportunity for Neil Pierre. He has the experience, he has the chemistry with Alawatu from last season in Union 2, and um, maybe it comes. I don't even know. I almost said Leagues Cup, but the Union aren't in Leagues Cup. Opportunity I don't think is going to be given in US Open Cup just because the Union are. Well, maybe it does actually because the Union have that game against New York Red Bulls on a Wednesday, and then they play them again on Saturday. So I don't know. Do we see Neil Pierre in the US Open Cup on a Wednesday night? Maybe. I think I'm convincing myself. Maybe we do because Bradley did have a lot of positive things to say about Neil's performance against Atlas in the friendly a few weeks ago, and I don't know. Maybe it's coming quicker than we thought. I just thought it would have been last night, but Valerie says Columbus does not deserve to have that team or Nancy. Yeah, I don't know. I'd be curious to see how much longer Wafa Nancy is in MLS, but uh, by far the best coach in MLS, and I don't think it's any debate. Cole also says that I like what I saw from the young boys last night. T Max says, not sure it's been discussed yet, but I think this game really showed we need a signing at attacking midfielder. I did actually mention that at the beginning of the show. He says, Bender is serviceable, but not very impactful. Yeah, I did. Go out for a U22, U22 attacking midfielder because you can never have enough attacking midfielders. So I'm glad, T Mac, you're in the same page as me. Also says, and Vasilov is fine if he's not dependent on being the primary creator. I don't know, T Mac. I mean, you're bringing up a lot of points that I brought up at the beginning of the show. It's like you've been here the whole time. Michael says Bender might need more time to cook. The system is different, and I agree. I think that the system doesn't really fit Ben Bender, which is a little bit harsh. I remember him talking to me saying that, yeah, it's a lot to learn the pressing cues and learning exactly how the Union want to play. But Bradley Cornell saying we want to be like dogs, we want to attack and press and win the ball back. That's something that excited Ben Bender, and you're seeing him doing it. But yeah, you want to see more chance creation. You want to see Bender taking more players on, and we really haven't seen that yet. And this was a huge opportunity for him to take advantage with Quinn Sullivan away with the national team at the Gold Cup. That opportunity, time and time again, has been given to Ben Bender, and has he made the most of the chances? Yeah, probably not. Probably not. But T-Max says might be I joined late. Hey, it's all good. I'm glad that you brought up a lot of points. You know, great minds think alike. But yeah, all in all, I think promising stuff from the Union 2 players, but do have to go out and sign, I believe, a couple more players this summer if we believe the Union are ready to go all in. I do think this is a team that's ready to compete for MLS Cup. You saw how well they played with the injuries, with the players away on international duty during this stretch, and you go out and get another player or two, then yeah, I mean, why not? Why not think this could be the year for the Philadelphia Union? Cole says maybe doesn't seem to work is harsh, but in the 2 games they have started together, the chance creation hasn't been enough. Yeah, not enough at all. Yeah, it is maybe a little harsh. Love Ben Bender, but yeah, it just seems like he doesn't fit the system totally. And I don't know. We'll see. Give it a couple more weeks, and maybe the more and more practice he gets with his teammates and learning the system, maybe he's better than he showed the last 2 games. Shaggy says, remember to help Todd grow the channel, smash the like button. Appreciate that, Shaggy. We're at 350 subscribers now on YouTube, so I appreciate you guys for your support. And Shaggy also says we need tie back. You know, he wants some goals after watching the Golden Boot slip away when he can't play. And how about that too? Sam Sarich just running away with the Golden Boot, scoring penalty kicks. So I knew Bradley Cornell had said that Bruno Damiani is the designated penalty kick taker when he's on the field. But yeah, if we want Ty to win the Golden Boot like he did last year in Leagues Cup, maybe Ty should be on penalty kick duty as well. But before we wrap up the show, I was supposed to play a clip from Bradley Cornell talking about the U22 guys. whatever. I missed the opportunity, and I don't want to keep the show going too much longer. So let's go ahead and talk about Blunder of the Week. And so you guys can see it live, Blunder of the Week. And yeah, I don't know how you guys feel about Men in Blazers. I think that when they were first coming up through the scene, I think they were great for growing soccer in America. I enjoyed their podcast, but yeah, not so much. And I do realize that it's social media people, not Raj, creating the social media posts and whatnot. I want to leave that disclaimer out there. I know it's not him. It's people that run their social media. But over the weekend, between PSG and Inter Miami, which almost got my Blunder of the Week, Inter Miami, that is. I mean, what a poor representation of MLS. I mean, God. People watching this game, if they think that Inter Miami is what MLS is, that can't be farther than the truth. That is not a good team. And they showed it against PSG. I know PSG is PSG. They are the European champions. They are a great team. But I think Columbus, I think Philadelphia Union, I think Nashville, I think those teams would have gave a better fight against PSG than Inter Miami did on the evening. But for you guys that aren't aware of what I'm talking about, so Men in Blazers, and I'll pull it up here, had a post on social media during the PSG and Atlanta United game. And I don't know how well you guys can see that. I try to zoom in as close as I can. But it's a banner of these two fans holding a picture of a bald Messi missing teeth. But it has the scores of Atlanta United 2-1 against Inter Miami, Inter Miami versus Atlanta United 3-1. And then it has Atlanta United 3-2 against Inter Miami. And one of the fans is wearing a Atlanta United jersey. And so the post by Men in Blazers, it says, PSG fans tribute to Messi. When clearly there is 4 logos in this picture of Atlanta United, and you call them PSG fans?
Yeah, not good.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about clickbait. You talk about just wanting to get engagement on social media. And the crazy thing is, too, they edited this tweet. So I'll pull that out right here. So it's probably hard for you guys to see. The first post they posted, it said PSG fans tribute to Miami with the laughing emoji. And then they edited it a minute later and said PSG fans tribute to Messi with the eye emojis. And I thought the edit would have been, oh, these are Atlanta United fans. Because you have a fan, literally, in an Atlanta United jersey. In an Atlanta United jersey. You zoom in on the picture, it is 3 logos on this banner of Atlanta United. 3 logos of Atlanta United. And you call them PSG fans? And the PSG fans on Twitter were not happy. They're like, that's not us. We're not them. That's Atlanta United fans. Absolutely. And so, again, I know this isn't Raj. I know it's not him. But the interns, they got to be better. And that account, like I said, they did a good job years ago growing soccer in America. I think during their podcast tour, going to all these different cities and everything, doing the show live. They did it a couple times in Philadelphia. That's great and everything. But it seems like more so now today, it's just a lot of engagement baiting. And maybe it shouldn't have made me as upset as it did. But I'm like, there's literally 4 logos of Atlanta United, a kid wearing a jersey of Atlanta. And then in this banner, 3 Atlanta United logos in here. And you call them PSG fans? Like, come on, what are we doing? What are we doing? Michael says, I have that on my shirt I wear for Miami games, talking about Pessi. That's what they call the picture, apparently. Valerie says he's being ironic. Domesticated Hoagie says, yeah, not good. Shaggy says, love watching all those Messi jerseys walk out of the stadium with their heads in their hands. Yeah, absolutely. So disappointing. Not Inter Miami fans. They're just Messi fans. Valerie says it was Inter Miami playing PSG and they were dissing Miami. So they were, in effect, PSG fans. Maybe. Domesticated Hoagie says, you took the bait. I took the bait. I took the bait. Yeah, just come on now. Like, yeah, I did absolutely take the bait for this engagement farming. I talked about it on social media. I talked about it now on the podcast. Like, they got exactly what they wanted. They wanted views. They wanted engagement on that post. I gave them exactly that. But Yeah, if it wasn't going to be that, it was going to be Inter Miami's performance against PSG. I mean, so disappointing. Like, Inter Miami shouldn't have even been in this competition, if we're being honest. And that wasn't MLS's call. It was FIFA's call. They wanted they wanted Messi in here. They wanted Inter Miami. But people all around the world watching this tournament, if they think that that's what MLS is, it's not. MLS is not Inter Miami. That is not a good team. We all know. We watch MLS weekly. They're not a great team defensively. And it's so disappointing seeing a team look. Congrats to Miami making it farther than LAFC and Seattle Sounders, which Seattle I don't think's a great team. LAFC beat Club America, and they were really, really poor in this tournament. I think LAFC has a really good team, but they were just poor showing from them. They should have done better. But yeah, I guess credit to Miami for going as far as they did in this tournament. But yeah, that isn't MLS. Inter Miami isn't MLS. There's a lot more quality teams in MLS that Columbus Crew fans, they wanted to be in this tournament. There's a chance the Philadelphia Union could have possibly have been in this tournament. And I think either one of those teams would have fared better than what Inter Miami did against PSG. And so, yeah, it is what it is. Inter Miami make a lot of money. Got to see all the Messi fans leave disappointed. All the Messi jerseys everywhere. But yeah, for people that are watching this podcast, which I would imagine everybody watching is a MLS fan, if you watch that game against PSG, that is not what MLS is into Miami. That is not what MLS is. Nice comment here on Facebook says, hello, watching from Haiti. Appreciate that. Last week we had Jem chiming in from England. Now we have somebody watching from Haiti. We all love Danley John Jock. Fantastic player. Michael says they had no business playing that. Yeah, into Miami. Valor says, yeah, just leave Blunder of the week at Miami's performance against PSG. Michael says San Diego should have played with how well that they're playing in MLS. Yeah, absolutely. But no, it's going to go to Man and Blazers, Blunder of the week. And yeah, got to be better. Like four logos of Inter Miami there, and you call them PSG fans? No, not at all. A lot of Atlanta United fans too, I saw, by the way. A lot of jerseys when they would pan to the crowd, which makes sense. The game was played in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. But yeah, so cool. So cool to watch Inter Miami just completely embarrass MLS. But that's pretty much it for the podcast. If you guys are staying all the way to the end, I appreciate you guys and the people that are watching internationally. Now everybody's chiming in where they're watching from. Shaggy says, hello, watching from Delaware. Haha. Valerie says, watching from Altoona and PA. Michael says, watching from Dirty Jersey. I wonder if we have any Maryland listeners watching live. I know a couple of you guys watch that are friends with me, family in Maryland. How many of you guys in Maryland are checking it live? Probably none of you guys. Steve says, at the link opener, Flamingo versus Tunisia. I thought the Union would thrive against either. They could have had some nice matches against the Club World Cup opponents. Domesticated Hoagie says, watching from the van down by the river. Yeah, so yeah, keep the comments coming where you guys are watching from. I appreciate you guys always checking in, giving great comments, helping carrying the show. But if you guys aren't following the podcast on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, go ahead and follow the podcast at Free Kick Pod, where you get your podcast of the Free Kick. Make sure to check out the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Free Kick Pod, live every single podcast. You can also check out the goals breakdown videos there, which if you guys haven't checked it out yet, go ahead and check out the goals breakdown video. It's like 8 minutes, not a lot of chances created. Only one goal. Valerie asks, tornado free? Yeah, luckily. Didn't lose power either, which is a huge positive. Michael says, only gods live in Maryland. And if you guys want to go ahead and check out my writing, which I'll have that article up here maybe within the hour or something while I'm in the process of uploading the podcast or editing the podcast. So check out my writing, the goals breakdown, or the podcast all in one spot, thefreekick.substack.com. And yeah, you guys are the best. You guys are the best keeping the show going. A lot of great content from you guys with your comment, right? You guys make this content what it is with your comments. And I appreciate seeing all the support, reading your comments. And it's great getting people internationally watching the show. I saw the other day when I was checking, somebody was listening from Saudi Arabia. So if you're still checking out the podcast, I have no clue how you found the Free Kick, but I appreciate your support. And it really is the beautiful game, I suppose. But Until then, my name is Todd, and this is the Free Kick Podcast.